So I have to apologize. I know I've kind of backed off of my videos recently. You probably would have noticed that a few days ago I didn't even post a video, and I apologize. I've worried about that day for a very long time, that one of these days I was going to have to get to a point where I couldn't post a video for whatever reason. I've been doing videos for a very long time, and in the beginning I was kind of hit or miss on videos without a lot of consistency, but recently, you know, in the last few years actually, I haven't missed one day of video. I remember one time we were coming back from Florida to Missouri because Carolyn's daughter got sick, and I thought, okay, I'm not going to post a video, and I ended up doing it anyways. I just made a quick little live feed. The other day I got pretty ill, and I knew it was coming. I mean, as you know, I have sinus issues. I've had sinus issues for as long as I can remember, although back then I didn't realize I was actually having sinus issues. But now I'm older, I realize that all my strep throats and ear problems and everything is all related to my sinuses. I'm kind of a naturalist, and I take garlic to keep from getting sinus infections. I've done that for probably the last 15 years. About 15 years ago, I had to go to the hospital because I passed out, and I was feeling ill for weeks. And what would happen is it would come and go. I would get this, for lack of a better term, confusion state. It almost felt like being drunk, not drunk, maybe tipsy, and I was just kind of in a daze, although it's not like drinking. So I've always attributed to like maybe what somebody would feel like if they used illegal narcotics. I've never used any of that stuff, so I don't know. So that's kind of what I kind of attribute it to. But I was definitely in a foggy state, not clear thinking, and it was a dizziness feeling, but not really dizzy. It's hard to explain, don't know how to explain it. Well, I didn't have an answer for it. I didn't know what it was, so I started keeping a journal of what the problem was, because I was pretty certain I had brain tumor. I was just convinced of it. Passed out one time, and my wife at the time, called a ambulance. I went to the hospital, and they said, you got a sinus infection. Well, for years, I always thought it was ridiculous, and so did my ex-wife, that I had to go to the emergency room for a sinus infection. But I have learned some things since then, just in the last couple of days, so I'll get to that in just a minute. For the last few days, I've been feeling like I've got some sinus issues. And it's not in the sinuses that I was having problems, it was in the chest. I was definitely congested. And I've been out here cutting trees down and trying to clear that field up so I can grow a corn garden next year. And I don't know if there's pollen or dust in the air. You know, that stuff's been sitting there for decades, all that trash, and so there might have been some pollen or mold or something getting stirred up with that. I knew I was having problems. I even wore a dust mask, not on video because everybody complains about the dust mask, but I was wearing dust masks, just trying to keep that from getting into my lungs. I suspected that I was getting a buildup of, not to be too gross, but thick mucus buildup in my chest cavity, and so I was taking Flonase again. I take Flonase in the springtime because I just started taking it actually because I was getting allergies so bad. Now, that being said, the reason I have allergies is because I got mold poisoning one time when I lived in an apartment. I didn't know the apartment had mold in the walls. Long story, but it ended up I got mold poisoning, and ever since then I've had allergic reactions. Well, in the spring, I get these terrible allergies. Never got them in the past, not the head allergies. Now, I'd always break out in hives, but that was from the mold. I have to accept the fact that I have an illness that's I'm not really sure how to get rid of, and doctors don't know how to get rid of it either. So, you know, for those that say go to the doctor, I'm not going to go to the doctor. I don't have any faith in doctors. You spend a lot of money and get less information than if you just go on Google and try to figure things out on your own. And that's the way I've been pretty successful. The doctors didn't tell me I had mold poisoning. I figured that out on my own. So I've been trying to take an inhaler. You can buy Primatene Mist, and that breaks up the mucus in your lungs and makes it easier to breathe. Of course, I've smoked most of my life. I quit, 7 or 8 years ago. And so I'm always concerned that one of these days I might get lung cancer, COPD, that kind of stuff. And I just refuse to go to the doctor for any of that. So I treat myself. I got some things that I think will help with cancer. I'm always concerned that I probably have cancer. I may get cancer one of these days. And so I'm always taking care of myself in those aspects. So I take the inhaler, Primatene Mist, because, probably have COPD. I try not to take a lot of it. I try to take peppermint tea. Peppermint tea really helps out. But what I think it is in all honesty, is the sinuses. The sinuses are constantly draining. They're just always in bad shape, and they're always trying to repair themselves. Now, a lot of people say, why don't you take natural garlic? And I take natural garlic, except it just smells so bad on your breath. So I take the tablets. The tablets, they remove the smell, but they keep the thing that helps with infections. And since I went to the emergency room for the infection in my sinuses, I've taken garlic and I've never gotten another sinus infection. I used to get them all the time, but I haven't gotten any since then. So the other night, I woke up in the middle of the night. I have a little lantern here that I charge up every night. I set it next to my bed. It makes for a nice nightlight because this little button here glows either red or green depending on the charge status. So when it's being charged, it's red, and when it's charged, it's green. So I would say around 3 a.m. it turns green. Well, I woke up and I was laying on my right side, so my ear is on the pillow, and I turn over to my left side and I look at the green light, and it's just moving like this. It's crazy fast, just moving. I'm dizzy. I'm desperately dizzy. The only time I've ever probably been that dizzy is as a child when you spin around in a circle, and I probably was more dizzy now than I was as a child. And I immediately thought, okay, what has happened is I've laid on this side so long that that thick mucus has went into my inner ear. Now, in your inner ear, you have this little floaty thing that keeps your balance. It moves around based on what your head direction is doing. And I instantly thought, it's jammed up. It's not moving correctly. And within a few seconds, it seemed like an eternity, but within a few seconds, it must have broke loose, because then the dizziness went away. And I was able to fall back to sleep. I got up, my normal time to edit my video. I get up at 5:30 and start editing the video. I'll start a fire, edit a video. Well, I went to sit down, and as I was leaning over, because you lean over to sit down, I fell. I just instantly got dizzy and fell straight down. And so I knew I was in bad shape. So I took a Mucinex. Now I tried to stay away from Mucinex, but I knew I was getting pretty congested. That mucus must have been pretty solid in my ear. I took a Mucinex. When Carolyn got up, I don't know, she gets up at 6:30, I don't know, at 7:30, something like that. I said, I'm gonna lay down, I don't feel good. And so I laid back down, and I laid back down on my right side. And I probably only slept for a half hour. So when I take a nap, I don't take a nap very long. I got up, I looked at the ceiling, I kind of turned over, and sure enough, the ceiling was doing this. It reminded me of that movie, The Butterfly Effect. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but he travels back in time in his own life, and as he's traveling back in time, the screen does this, and it reminded me of that for some reason. I know that's probably stupid to say, but that's what it reminded me of. And Carolyn was nothing but amazing the whole day. She really took very good care of me. The problem I was having was I was not giving myself permission to just say, okay, I'm sick, I need to take a break. I haven't been sick in ages, other than the allergies, and I always fight through the allergies. By 11 o'clock, I decided, you know what, I just am not going to get anything done today. I've been sitting in a chair or laying down all morning, so I just finally accepted that I was sick. And I laid back down, and I laid just on my back. I didn't lay on my side. I got some rest. I got up and I was feeling better. Carolyn made all kinds of teas. She made a basil cinnamon tea, a nettle tea, I think is what she called it. She just made all kinds of teas and put in her essential oils in her little pot that, steams off. Did a lot of good, a lot of good. I'm feeling better today, not 100%, but I still got that little twingy dizziness. It's hard to explain. So I started researching what was wrong with me. Either I've had a head injury or inner ear injury, and I just can't imagine. I mean, when I was a kid, I bumped my head and had to get stitches, but I was like 5 years old, and this just all of a sudden come on. So I don't think it's a head injury. Now, could I have an inner ear injury? Well, there may have been a time that I've had an ear infection and just didn't know about it, so that could cause it. But here's the thing, is when I woke up that morning, I was dehydrated. Now, for you to understand this, I drink probably more water than I should. I drink water all day long. That's all we drink, and coffee. But when I got up to go to the bathroom, I just didn't go to the bathroom very much, and so I knew I was dehydrated. So I'm thinking with the mucus being so thick and then being dehydrated, that it just increased the thickness of that. Plus, being dehydrated means that you're going to be dizzy anyways. Another thing that I did that could be a problem, and I didn't even realize this until I got on WebMD, is my Flonase. I took a Flonase spray on a bottle that was almost empty. Well, when I sprayed it, I thought, you know, I didn't get anything in that. So you're allowed to take 2 sprays per nostril when you're starting up or when you're feeling really bad. So I grabbed a new bottle and I sprayed 2 in each nose. So what may have happened was I took 4 sprays instead of 2 sprays in each nostril. I may have overdosed, because when I'm reading at WebMD, one of the things, you know, dehydration, inner ear problems, and allergy medicine. I clicked the allergy medicine hyperlink and it says Flonase, or the nasal spray is what it called it, which has steroids in it. So it could be possible that I overdosed on that and it caused these symptoms as well, because there is no symptom that says thick mucus or sinus infections. Now, to bring me back to sinus infections, as I was reading all this, remember when I had to go to the hospital? I was telling you I had to go to the hospital because of sinus infection. Here's what I find fascinating. The reason I was feeling cloudy, now remember, this was 15 years ago. I went to the emergency room. They never said anything like this. The reason I was having this weird feeling of not being coherent is because the sinus infection had actually went into my brain. I had some swelling or something going on in my brain. They didn't say that. And I actually don't think they knew that. So all these years, I'd always thought, I went to the hospital because of a sinus infection. I tell you, doctors are just, in my opinion, useless. And the key to this video is try to understand your body. I'm glad I didn't rush off to the emergency room so they could put me on some drugs. I think living off grid forces you to find healthy ways, natural ways to take care of yourself. The food you eat, the exercise you get, and the medical care you receive. I hope I can inspire you to take care of yourself so you can live your dream. Thanks for watching.